Good morning, good morning. Another beautiful day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. So, we are moving forward on our scene, doing our painting. So, for those of you who are new to the Robinson channel, I am making a film. I am working on the animation in real time. And my purpose for doing these videos is to show you in real time what it would be like to animate a property and do the various steps. And so if you are making your own animated film, you can follow me. You can go back and look at the previous videos that I've done. I've done quite a few on this particular film subject. And you should be able to go back on my channel if you're interested and follow me from the very beginning of this film. I don't know exactly how many videos I've done on this film, but I'm sure it's been well more than 30 videos, probably. I'm not sure exactly how many, but you probably would be able to find where I started. If you go back on my channel, you'll see where this whole thing got started. Anyways, at this point, I've done all the in-betweens. I've animated it, timed it, done the in-betweens, and now I'm going back over. And on a separate layer, I'm cleaning up and painting. So our color layer is on the top, and we're just 3 frames in here. So I've already given myself a layer of images on the top of the timeline here. So as I click on this next layer, you can see this is an opacity of the rough drawing. I believe this was a 20% opacity on the rough drawing, which is underneath, so that I can clean up the drawing on the color layer. And I've set my brush for a solid color line, and the line for the character that I'm doing is black all around. This is for Miguel, who is the character that's on the left side of the screen here. And so right now I'm just cleaning him up with the color line, the black color line. Sometimes it's better, and I'm going to do it on this one, to actually make the image a little bigger, because it makes it easier to see what you're doing. I make the image small so that all of you can see the whole scene when I'm running the animation in real time. But when I'm doing the actual drawings here, it's better to have a larger image that I can work with. You want to keep a model of the character, color and everything on your table or on your desktop so that you can access it when you're doing your your clean drawings. And usually once you get your first few drawings cleaned up and painted, then it's just really a matter of going back to your previous cleaned up drawings and referencing them for the color. So that's what I'm doing on this. Now, yesterday I was mentioning that I think on since this layer works on top, that I'm seeing right now, I can tell that that's how it's going to play on the sorry, that's how it's going to play as I'm doing the cleanup here. So all right, so Okay, so like the line on the box here is purple. Let's see which line, which purple is that? That's going to be this purple here. So I go down here, hit this, and this will give me the line tool. Now I'm going to put the line tool on top here because I need it to work over the top of some of these lines. But then I'm going to need it to work underneath some other lines. But right now I'm going to just have it be on the top. Okay. Alright, then now I'm going to go back to the wavy line, which represents the regular hand-drawn line, and I'm going to put the line underneath. Yeah. Alright, so I've got Miguel done, so let's see. Alright. Okay, so now I'm going to do the color. So there's the hair. Let's see. Did I get that right? Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, the hair, the skin. The eye whites. The shirt, which is this color here. And sometimes little areas don't get filled in because they're so small. And then the block, which is a light blue. And I think, what is, oh yeah. And then this side blue here. Okay, so now you can see that already that Miguel is going to be on the top here of the box. When I was doing the animation, I think I had Miguel and Jason both kind of behind these boxes that are set still on the floor, but I think what's going to end up happening now is that they're both going to be on the top, which should be fine. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Alright, let's see. Let me bring this down and remove Jason over. So now Jason has got the, alright, yeah, he's got the lighter line. Okay, I know which line that is. So, okay. So, Jason's got this color line for his skin and hair. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, that's Jason's line. So, a lot of times when things are moving too, even though, sometimes you may have things that are moving and you don't see the mistakes when something is moving, and that's really true. It doesn't mean but I mean, just because that's true doesn't mean that you should just not be responsible when you're doing your animation. You should still, want to try to get your everything where it should be, but there's a certain level of, I guess you could say, errors that are going to be tolerated in animation, and that's normal because, yeah, you don't see a lot. A lot of times there's just stuff you don't see because it's going by, at 24 frames a second, so you don't see it. That's true. You don't always see mistakes. So to some greater or lesser degree, you can kind of get away with some things. There's a skin color line here. So, all right. So All right. I'll do the scan on him first. Okay. Now, and then I'll put the whites in the eyes. I have a tendency of forgetting about the white in the eye. All right. So I'm going to do the red on the shirt next because this is always an issue. It's like what's with the stripes. Well, the biggest mistake I make on characters in designing characters is giving them clothes with stripes in them because those stripes can just start jittering all over the place if you don't paint them in the right sequence. And oh man, I've made that mistake. I don't know how many times I've made that mistake. You'd think as many times as I've made that mistake, I would never make it again, but I have. All right, so we'll go to the next one. All right, so I'll make this bigger. All right. Back to the black line for Miguel. Um, Here's something else to be aware of too. I I've always, and I've said this when I was doing animation years ago, color and stuff. Because at one point I did ink. I was an inker at one point, many years ago. And there is something kind of comfortable about the process of doing inking and in betweens and stuff. There's sort of a relaxing quality to it. I don't know. You're not having to think so much when you're doing this part of the work. So, this is where you can listen to music and stuff. When you're trying to create your animation and your character movement and stuff, that's not necessarily a good time to listen to music. Only because it isn't. Sometimes you have a tendency you can be so distracted that you're not really concentrating on what it is you're actually doing when you're animating. But when you get to the place where you're doing in betweens or you're doing painting on your characters like I'm doing now, then you can play classical music or whatever, and you can enjoy that because your focus is not going to be so much on the creation of what it is you're doing, but more, say, on the details of where the lines go and where things intersect. It's not quite the same level of concentration. And so I mention that because there's just parts of what we do that, well, it can get mundane, I guess you could say. But it's nice to know that you can have this, time in your production where you're not, um, having to put all of your focus on something. You can kind of relax a little bit and, you know, not worry about it so much. So I like this point part of production. I like that because I like to be able to kind of unhook at some point and not have to concentrate so hard. So I look forward to this part of production. And it is true. You don't see a lot of. There's a lot in the process of animation that you just don't see it. Really, stuff can happen and you just don't really notice it because it is going by pretty fast. So. All right. All right. Oops. Let's forget to. Go. Jason is such a happy character. he's, So helpful. Yeah. Oh, let's see the skin color on that. Also, I tend to like to use the whatever color I'm working with. I kind of like to use it as much as possible. So, like if I know I've got to do the hair or the hand, or, then I could just I try to do them all at the same time while I've got that color while I'm using it. Sometimes that's not a problem. Sometimes it is. And most of the time I work with the lines working underneath, though there are key times when the line does need to be on the top. And that's just something that there's no way for me to always accurately predict when the line needs to be on the top and when the line needs to be on the bottom. Uh, yeah. And I'm always having to watch for things too because little things pop up that I don't think about. Like right here, I could see, oh, that's right, he's got um, his arm, his mouth is open, but his arm is coming through there, so that means I got to make sure that I see the um, arm past his mouth. I don't know if you're catching what I'm saying there, but it's on the inside of his mouth. You see, I put a little red light because his arm, when his mouth is open, so that means his arm is going to be seen on the other side of his mouth. See, I'll show you here when I paint his hands. So you see how his hand, okay, his mouth is open there. So now when I paint his hand, or his shirt, you see that shows that arm would have to be on the other side of his mouth. See, but when I was drawing it, I didn't really recognize that was the case. But it is the case. Okay, so we got him in there, and then I flip back and forth from the previous drawing just to make sure I could see where he is. Let's move this back. Let's see. Yeah, I was saying this before yesterday that I didn't think it was going to be an issue that the guys actually worked on the top of the block in the background instead of on the bottom, and that's going to be fine. Yeah. Let's see. Um, Newsflash, folks. For those of you who are making your own films, uh, I just want you to be aware of software out there and what you're getting for your money. Um, I use Rough Animator, and Rough Animator is a very good software. But I would say probably the primary reason that I use Rough Animator is because it is very user friendly. By that I mean I don't consider myself to be a heavy duty tech person. Okay, so I'm an artist like most all of you are out there, and so I know a little bit. I know stuff about the computer. I've been using digital production products for a long time, for well over 10 years. So it's not like I'm a novice to it. But I understand that when people get into doing something new like this, there's sort of a, reluctance. There's so much that you have to learn, and it can be a little overwhelming. Anyway, Rough Animator is a great software because of the fact that it is user friendly and it's easy to use, and it does a lot of things. But then there's a lot of things that it doesn't do. The other side of why I like Rough Animator so much is the price. Rough Animator costs $10 if you buy the um, desktop version. And the desktop, that makes it a very inexpensive software, and I highly recommend it. However, I want to talk about some of the other softwares as well for those of you who are contemplating buying this different types of software, and what I would recommend. Now, the very best software, there are two softwares that you can, well, one you can buy. Well, I don't know if they, you used to be able to buy this one, but I'm going to mention two different ones here. And both of these are absolutely fantastic softwares for animation, storyboarding, whatever you're going to do. One of them is Toon Boom Storyboard, and Toon Boom has an animation function of story, or an animation platform called Harmony. And Harmony is amazing. It is clearly the premier animation software without doubt. It does everything. It does Windows. Okay, I mean that, of course, in a humorous fashion, but it does an amazing amount. However, it is the most expensive software. Now, there was a time that you could buy Toon Boom software, and they sold it outright, and it was still expensive even then, but it's a lot more expensive now. And I'm not going to say that it's not worth the money, because it is worth the money. But, if you're starting out and you just don't have this kind of money, I mean, you just don't have it. That's just the reality, okay? So I would say, you might take that into account. Um, Storyboard Pro, when I bought it, the last time they sold it, I paid for a little over $1,000 for it. You can't buy it now, I don't believe. But if you wanted to get Toon Boom, Harmony, or Storyboard Pro, you're going to have to pay a subscription fee of $87, I'm told, just recently, or $85 or $87 a month. Quite a lot of money. But it is an industry standard, and part of the reason that it is so expensive is that studios can afford to pay for it. The other really good software is TV Paint, which I've only used a couple of times, but it also is an amazingly wonderful software that I once again can't say enough good things about. Both Toon Boom and TV Paint are excellent, but they are very expensive. Now, I don't know whether uh, TV Paint can only be bought through a subscription or not. I haven't really researched that, so you might want to look into that. But my guess is that it probably is a subscription. But I mean, if you can buy it, I will say this: that if you can buy it, that's still going to probably be cheaper than having a subscription that you have to pay a lot for. So I don't really know. That's up to you. But both of those softwares are great, so I can't say enough good things about them. And I do wish they weren't so expensive. However, most of us are going to probably want to start out with something that's either open source, that's free, like Krita or OpenTunes, or something that's cheap but effective, like Rough Animator or Blender. The Blender is open source as well. So think about that when you're making your film, what you want to spend. Animation is expensive and time consuming enough. You don't want to get into the middle of a production and then you sort of in trouble because you can't finish anything because you can't afford the subscription fee anymore. So that's my advice. All right, good people. Have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow. We're a little over 25 minutes, so I want to stop here. So I'll see you tomorrow. We'll pick it up there. Have a good day.